The letter arrived on a Tuesday, slipped under the door like a secret too heavy to speak aloud. Isaiah Coleman, 24, knelt to pick it up, his heart pounding as he recognized his mother's sharp, angular handwriting. "We need to talk, Isaiah. I know who you are, and I can't let you ruin your life." He stood frozen in his small Oakland apartment, the words searing into him. The letter wasn't just words, it was a reckoning. For years, he'd danced around the truth, hiding his love for Javier Morales, the man who made his world feel whole. But now, his mother, Deborah, a devout woman rooted in her Southern Baptist upbringing, had drawn a line in the sand. Isaiah's hands trembled as he set the letter on the counter. He could still hear her voice from childhood, quoting scripture at Sunday dinners in their Atlanta home, her eyes fierce with conviction. "God made man and woman for each other," she'd say, her tone leaving no room for questions. Back then, Isaiah was just a quiet kid who loved sketching cityscapes and dreaming of a life beyond the pews. But at 16, when he first felt his heart stir for a boy in his art class, he knew he was different. He buried it deep, terrified of what his mother would do if she found out. Now, at 24, he was building a life in Oakland, working as a graphic designer and sharing stolen moments with Javier, a 25-year-old community organizer with a laugh that could light up a room. They'd met at a local mural project, bonding over their love for vibrant colors and stories told through art. Javier's warmth, his unapologetic way of living, had pulled Isaiah out of his shell. But Deborah's letter was a reminder. Freedom came with a cost. That night, Isaiah sat on his couch, the letter open beside him. Javier was sprawled next to him, scrolling through his phone, oblivious to the storm brewing in Isaiah's chest. "You okay, man?" Javier asked, his brown eyes catching the dim light. His voice was soft, but it carried the weight of someone who'd fought his own battles, coming out to his Mexican-American family at 18, facing their initial rejection, and still choosing to live authentically. Isaiah forced a smile. "Yeah, just family stuff." He couldn't bring himself to show Javier the letter. Not yet. Instead, he leaned into Javier's shoulder, letting the warmth of his presence anchor him. But the words lingered. "I can't let you ruin your life." What did she mean? Was she coming to Oakland? Would she try to drag him back to Atlanta? The next morning, Isaiah's phone buzzed with a voicemail from Deborah. Her voice was calm but unyielding. "I'm flying out next week, Isaiah. We're going to fix this. I found a program, a good one. It'll help you." His stomach churned. Program. He knew exactly what she meant. Conversion therapy, the kind of place that promised to cure people like him. He'd heard the stories. Friends who'd been sent to camps, their spirits broken under the guise of salvation. He deleted the voicemail, his hands shaking. Javier noticed the change in him over the next few days. Isaiah was quieter, his sketches darker, filled with jagged lines and stormy skies. At a coffee shop in the Mission District, Javier finally pressed him. "Talk to me, Isaiah. You're shutting me out." They sat at a corner table, the hum of the city filtering through the open window. Isaiah's fingers traced the rim of his mug, avoiding Javier's gaze. "It's my mom," he admitted finally. "She thinks she knows about us. She's coming here. She wants to fix me." His voice cracked on the last word, and Javier's face hardened. "Fix you." Javier's tone was sharp, protective. "There's nothing to fix. You're perfect the way you are." He reached across the table, his hand covering Isaiah's. "You don't have to face her alone. I'm here." Isaiah wanted to believe him, but fear gnawed at him. Deborah wasn't just his mother. She was a force, a woman who'd raised him alone after his father left, who'd worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. Her love was fierce, but it came with conditions. And now, those conditions threatened to unravel everything he'd built. The day Deborah arrived, Isaiah met her at the airport. She stepped off the plane, her face a mix of determination and exhaustion. At 50, she carried herself with the same unyielding strength she always had. Her hair pulled back tightly, her eyes scanning him like she could see through to his soul. "You look tired," she said, her voice clipped. No hug, no warmth, just judgment. They drove to a diner near Lake Merritt, the silence between them heavy. Over greasy burgers and weak coffee, Deborah laid out her plan. "I've enrolled you in a program in Sacramento," she said, sliding a brochure across the table. The cover showed a smiling family under the words, "Path to Redemption." "It's a 2-month intensive. They've helped people like you before." "People like me?" Isaiah's voice was low, but anger simmered beneath it. "Mom, I'm not broken." Her eyes narrowed. "You're my son, and I won't let you throw your life away. This choice you're making, it's not what God wants." "It's not a choice," he said, his voice rising. "It's who I am." The diner fell quiet, heads turning toward their table. Deborah's face tightened, but she didn't back down. "You're coming with me to Sacramento, Isaiah. I've already paid the deposit." He stared at her, his heart pounding. For the first time, he saw her not as his mother, but as someone who could destroy him. He stood, leaving the brochure on the table. "I need to think," he said, walking out into the cool evening air. Back at his apartment, Javier was waiting, his face etched with worry. Isaiah told him everything. The program, the brochure, his mother's unyielding resolve. Javier's jaw clenched, but he pulled Isaiah into a hug. "You don't have to do this," he whispered. "We'll figure it out. Together." But as Isaiah lay awake that night, Javier's arms around him, he couldn't shake the fear. Deborah wasn't someone who gave up. And deep down, a part of him wondered if she was right, if he was the one who was wrong. The next morning, Isaiah woke to the sound of his phone buzzing relentlessly. Deborah's name flashed on the screen, each unanswered call a reminder of the battle ahead. He silenced it, but the weight of her presence in Oakland pressed against him like a storm cloud. Javier, already up and brewing coffee, noticed the tension in Isaiah's shoulders. "You can't keep dodging her," he said gently, sliding a mug across the counter. "She's not gonna stop." Isaiah gripped the mug, the warmth grounding him. "I know, but what do I say? She's my mom, Javi. She's not some stranger I can just cut off." His voice trembled, caught between love and defiance. He'd spent years trying to be the son she wanted, straight-A student, church volunteer, the kid who never made waves. But now, living authentically meant shattering her vision of him. Javier sat beside him, his presence steady. "You tell her the truth. Not just about us, but about you. She needs to hear it from you, not some program brochure." Javier's own coming out had been messy. His father had thrown him out, and it took years for his family to come around. But he'd fought for his truth, and now he was urging Isaiah to do the same. That afternoon, Isaiah agreed to meet Deborah at a park near the bay. The air was crisp, the water glittering under the midday sun. She sat on a bench, her posture rigid, a Bible resting in her lap like a shield. Isaiah approached, his heart racing. "Mom," he started, sitting beside her. "I'm not going to Sacramento." Her eyes flashed with anger, but her voice was measured. "You don't get to decide that, Isaiah. I've seen what this lifestyle does. It's a sin and it'll destroy you. I'm doing this because I love you." "Love?" Isaiah's voice cracked. "You think love means forcing me into some camp to change who I am? I'm gay, Mom. I've always been gay. And I'm happy, happier than I've ever been." The words spilled out, raw and unfiltered, surprising even himself. Deborah's face paled, her hands tightening around the Bible. "You're confused," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. This Javier, he's leading you astray. I've read about people like him. They pull you in, make you think this is normal. Isaiah's chest tightened. Javier's the best thing in my life. He's kind, he's honest, and he loves me for who I am. Can you say the same? The question hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving. Deborah looked away, her jaw set. For a moment, Isaiah thought she might soften, but then she stood, clutching her Bible. I'm not giving up on you, she said. I've booked us a meeting with the program director tomorrow. You're coming. She walked away, leaving Isaiah alone on the bench, the weight of her words crushing him. He wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. Instead, he texted Javier, "She's not listening. I don't know what to do." Javier arrived within the hour, finding Isaiah still at the park, staring at the water. Without a word, he sat beside him, their shoulders touching. "You stood up to her," Javier said. "That's huge." "It didn't change anything," Isaiah muttered. "She's still coming for me." Javier took his hand, his grip firm. "Then we fight. Together. She can't force you into anything. You're not a kid anymore." That night, they devised a plan. Isaiah would go to the meeting with the program director, but not to comply, to confront. He'd make it clear he wasn't going to Sacramento, no matter what Deborah believed. Javier offered to come, but Isaiah shook his head. "This is my fight," he said, though the thought of facing his mother alone terrified him. The meeting was held in a sterile office in downtown Oakland, the walls lined with inspirational posters about healing and renewal. The director, a middle-aged white man named Paul, greeted them with a practiced smile. Deborah sat beside Isaiah, her expression unreadable. Paul launched into a spiel about the program's success rates, citing vague statistics and testimonials from former homosexuals now living God's intended life. Isaiah's stomach turned. He glanced at his mother, hoping to see doubt, but her eyes were fixed on Paul, nodding along. When Paul asked if Isaiah had questions, he took a deep breath. "Yeah," he said, his voice steady despite the fear. "How do you justify tearing people apart to make them fit your idea of normal?" Paul's smile faltered, but he recovered quickly. "We're not tearing anyone apart. We're helping people find peace with God's plan." "God's plan?" Isaiah's voice rose. "What about my plan? What about the fact that I'm happy, that I'm in love? You think that's a mistake?" He turned to Deborah. "Mom, do you even see me? Or just the son you want me to be?" Deborah's eyes welled up, but she didn't speak. Paul interjected, his tone patronizing. "Your mother loves you. She wants what's best." Isaiah stood, his chair scraping against the floor. "No, she wants control. I'm done with this." He walked out, his heart pounding, leaving Deborah and Paul in stunned silence. Outside, the city buzzed around him, alive and chaotic. He felt a strange mix of fear and freedom. For the first time, he'd chosen himself over his mother's expectations. But as he walked back to his apartment, a new fear settled in. What would Deborah do next? Isaiah spent the next 2 days waiting for the other shoe to drop. Deborah hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't shown up at his apartment. The silence was worse than her anger. It felt like she was planning something. Javier tried to keep things light, dragging him to a local art fair to distract him. They wandered through stalls of vibrant paintings and sculptures, Javier's hand brushing against Isaiah's, a quiet reminder of what he was fighting for. But even the bright colors couldn't shake the dread pooling in Isaiah's chest. On the third day, Deborah appeared at his door, unannounced. She looked smaller somehow, her eyes red-rimmed, her usual confidence frayed. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice softer than he'd ever heard. Against his better judgment, Isaiah let her in. They sat at his small kitchen table, the letter from a week ago still crumpled on the counter. Deborah clasped her hands, her knuckles white. "I've been praying," she started. "I've been asking God why this is happening. Why my son is like this." Her voice broke, and Isaiah felt a pang of guilt, quickly replaced by anger. "Like what, Mom?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Happy? In love? Myself?" She flinched but pressed on. "I met with a pastor here in Oakland. He runs a support group for parents. He says there's still hope, that people can change with the right guidance. I just want you to try Isaiah. For me." Isaiah's heart sank. He'd hoped, foolishly, that she might be coming around. But this was just another tactic, another way to pull him back into her world. "I'm not going to a support group," he said firmly. "And I'm not changing. Why can't you see that?" Deborah's eyes filled with tears. "Because I'm scared for you," she whispered. "I'm scared you'll lose everything. Your faith, your family, your future." "My future?" Isaiah leaned forward, his voice trembling with emotion. "My future is here, with Javier, with my art, with the life I'm building. You're the one trying to take that away." For a moment, they sat in silence, the weight of their words filling the room. Then Deborah stood, her face hardening. "I'm not giving up," she said. "I've arranged for you to meet someone, a counselor. She's helped others. You'll see her tomorrow." Isaiah didn't argue. He was too tired, too drained. After she left, he called Javier, who rushed over. They sat on the fire escape, the city sprawling below them, and Isaiah poured out everything. His mother's tears, her relentless determination, his own fear that he'd lose her forever. Javier listened, his hand resting on Isaiah's knee. "You're stronger than you think," Javier said. "You stood up to her once. You can do it again." The next day, Isaiah went to the counselor's office, not because he believed in it, but because he wanted to end this on his terms. The counselor, a woman named Linda, spoke in soothing tones about realigning his desires with biblical truth. Isaiah let her talk, his mind drifting to Javier's smile, to the way they danced together in his apartment, to old salsa records, to the life they were building. When Linda asked him to commit to weekly sessions, he shook his head. "I'm not here to change," he said. "I'm here to tell you and my mom that I'm done pretending. I love Javier. I love myself. And if that's not enough for her, that's her loss." He left the office feeling lighter, like he'd shed a weight he'd carried for years. But when he got home, he found an email from Deborah. It was short, clinical. "I've booked a flight back to Atlanta. I need time to think. I love you, Isaiah, but I can't accept this." The words stung, but they also clarified something for Isaiah. His mother's love came with strings, and he couldn't keep tying himself in knots to please her. He forwarded the email to Javier, who called immediately. "You okay?" Javier asked, his voice thick with concern. "No," Isaiah admitted, "but I will be." That night, they went to their favorite spot, a cliff overlooking the Pacific, where they'd shared their first kiss. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Javier took Isaiah's hand, their fingers intertwining. "Whatever happens," Javier said, "we've got this, you and me." Isaiah nodded, tears in his eyes. For the first time, he believed it. Weeks passed, and Deborah's absence left a strange void in Isaiah's life. He threw himself into his work, sketching murals for a community center in West Oakland, each stroke of his pencil a defiance of his mother's expectations. Javier was his anchor, cooking dinner when Isaiah worked late, leaving notes on the fridge that said things like, "You're enough." But the silence from Atlanta gnawed at him. He missed his mother, even if he didn't miss her judgment. One evening, while sorting through old sketchbooks, Isaiah found a drawing he'd done at 15. A portrait of Deborah, her face soft with a rare smile. He traced the lines, remembering the woman who'd sung him to sleep as a child, who'd cheered at his art shows. Could that woman ever accept him? Or was she gone forever? Javier noticed the sketch and sat beside him. "You miss her," he said, not a question. Isaiah nodded, unable to speak. "Maybe she'll come around," Javier offered. "My dad did, eventually. It took time, but he saw I was still me."